Well, the motor just got here, and I'm not too sure, guys. I'm gonna have to investigate this and see what the hell is going on. There's, I kind of went over everything. There was a big plastic black trash bag over the entire thing. And there's some odd end intercooler piping and stuff like that just laying on top of it. So I just tried to clean all that out of the way. And I was like, well, the first thing I'm going to do, check the timing belt. So I lifted up the timing cover, checked the timing belt. Timing belt looks, I mean, it looks worn, but it looks okay. Yeah, seems alright. And I was like, well, I'm going to pull out the plugs. And that's when I was like, oh no. So I already opened up these two. But let me show you the full effect when I open up this one. I'm sure it's going to be the same. Did you see that? Did you freaking see that? Hold on. So, that doesn't look good at all. And, oh my god, man. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I thought it was antifreeze. But it's not. I literally put some on my finger and tasted it. Because it sort of smells like it. But I knew, I didn't think it was. So I literally tasted it, and it's not antifreeze, it's just dirty water. So I have no idea if this just happened from storage and these were leaking or something and it was getting rained on, so we could have more problems. I'm gonna try and dry out these freaking plug sockets and see what I can do, and then I'm gonna pull the valve cover off, see what the internals look like. I wanted to pull out the dipstick, but I can't. It's broken off completely, so, and I don't know. I'm going to have to glue something on there, try and pull it out or something. I don't know. I tried drilling a hole through it, and that didn't work. So I sprayed some WD-40 on some of the bolts that I knew were kind of rusty, so I could try and, any of the bolts or anything I could pull out. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, getting into this thing. Alright guys, I'm going to pop this 710 cap off here. I'm going to pull this valve cover off, see what we're looking at on the inside. Put the oil cap back on and then pull this freaking valve cover off. I hate pulling these off because as soon as you pull it off it needs a new gasket. Actually I'm going to put a new gasket on it anyway, I'm sure, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off and see what we're looking at. Well, pulling off the valve cover, I don't see any abnormal wear. I don't see, I mean, it's got wear, but I don't see any abnormal wear. Like I said, it's definitely worn, but it's not, I don't see anything that looks puzzling to me. It looks pretty clean up here. The oil looks clean. Well, it looks dirty. It's really dark oil, but it's not. It doesn't appear to be mixed with antifreeze or anything like that. The head itself doesn't have a whole lot of like debris or anything in it, so that looks good. I'm gonna attempt to check and see, drain the oil. Be careful here. See if there is any oil still in this thing, which I would think they wouldn't. You would think they would have drained it to ship it, but maybe not. So I want to drain the oil, see what that looks like, if there's any in there. Then I really got to figure out a way to get this dipstick out. I'm a little relieved that I'm not seeing any discoloration of the oil as far as antifreeze goes. I was thinking maybe the head was cracked, and that was how all that got into the spark plugs, and you know, maybe the head cracked and had a leak. But I think it somehow, some way, it just got water in there. That definitely wasn't antifreeze. Like I said, I tasted it. I don't know if you've ever accidentally like got antifreeze on your hands and then tasted it, or got it in your mouth somehow, because trust me, it happens with every time I'm working with antifreeze, man. I end up tasting it. But it's got that, it tastes like you put a fistful of pennies, or like if you, like when you play with change or something, you get like that coppery metallic taste. That's sort of like what you get with antifreeze. And that definitely wasn't antifreeze at all. So I'm getting a new intercooler kit, so I'm going to pull this pipe here off and I got to go ahead and, like I said, I deleted the AC and power steering from the car. So I'm going to cut the AC belt, pull the AC compressor off of here, and then pull the power steering pump off of here. It's just less stuff to get in the way right now while I'm trying to kind of assess everything. So I'm going to pull those off, get all the lines, get everything out of the way. I got the power steering pump and the AC compressor off. And while I was down here pulling off the AC pump, or the compressor, I was like, wait a second. That doesn't look right. I was like, that's a front-wheel drive transmission. So I actually realized this last night, and this morning I pulled the transmission off. Basically, long story short, they sent me the wrong transmission, so it's pretty obvious here. This is a front-wheel drive transmission. There's no shaft coming out for the transfer case, and there's one here coming out for the transfer case. I don't know why I didn't look at it. It was advertised as an all-wheel drive transmission, and for some stupid reason, I just didn't look at the transmission in the pictures. So anyways, I got gypped, and they're not really going to do much for me as far as a refund. They said that they can come pick it up, and they'll offer me, you know, $200-300 refund. So I'm just going to sell that and swap everything over. So I have to swap over the transmission brackets. So it is a good thing that I ended up buying this. So now I'm glad that I have it. But I have to swap over all the brackets, the speed sensor, the reverse switch, and the bracket for the shifter cables. So once I swap all that over, I can pretty much post this thing up for sale and put this back in the car. The clutch is pretty freaking shot, man. It's in pretty rough shape. The flywheel's pretty rough. The pressure plate, all the springs and everything feel good on that, or all the fins feel good on that. But the clutch has definitely seen better days. It's not terrible. I mean, I've seen worse. Like the clutch that came out of my WRX was pretty worse than this. But like here, there's a section where there's pretty much no groove. It's just, I'm replacing it, so it's not a big deal. This car has become a money pit very fast, which I knew would happen, but as far as keeping everything stock and really not upgrading it, I can't believe it's costing me this much already. But yeah. So anyways, new clutch is on the way. I pulled the ECU off, I unplugged it, and I actually pulled the casing off. It is an EEPROM ECU, but it's not socketed, and it doesn't have DSM link or anything, but at least I have that option down the road. Came with an engine intake on the motor, so that's there now. 1G blow-off valve, but that'll all get replaced at some point. Also, the other night, I got the seat up again, because the other night I got my pod pillar, so I got my wideband finally from Glow Shift. So I'm going to run that under the seat and plumb it into the exhaust. And also, the brakes are finally painted. The rear calipers are finally painted. So here's the rear calipers. I didn't put the Brembo logo on those like I did on the fronts. But I don't know. If it looks funny, I'll just put a Brembo sticker on it. So it's whatever. But I'm going to remount those. Yeah, it's just all over the place right now, guys. It's really hard to try and focus on one thing right now because there's so much going on, and we're in that home stretch phase where just everything. I still have to get motor mount bolts. I don't have any of the motor mount bolts, so I have to get new motor mount bolts. I have to run into like a hardware store and try and find a bolt for that. The stud here for the master cylinder. So there's a lot of like scrambling going on, but I'll figure it out. I don't think it'll be a big deal. So also, I finally ordered my fuel lines, and I'm going to run the stock pump for now. And I figured out that the stock pump is going to lose a little bit of pressure because running the 6AN line, basically the stock line is 3 and this one's 6, so it's almost double the diameter of the stock line. What I can do is one of the vacuum, there's basically a stock fuel pressure regulator that keeps it a little bit lower. If you remove that, you'll get slightly higher fuel pressures, and I don't know how safe that is, if it'll blow the pump up or not, but I'm going to do that. Well, I'm going to leave it alone first. I'm going to put everything how it's supposed to be. I have a fuel pressure gauge in there, see what kind of fuel pressures I'm getting, and with the aftermarket line. And if I'm seeing stock fuel pressure is fine. If I'm not, I can do that, or I can upgrade the fuel pump at that point. But for now, I'm just going to roll with it. And worst case scenario, I'll get like a DW 300 or something. I know all the DSM guys are crazy over Walbro, but I had a D. Schwartz fuel pump in the WRX, and I loved it. It was great. I had no issues with it whatsoever, running the 85 and everything else. So, yeah. So I'm really just running around like a madman now, just trying to piece together every little thing. But it's getting there. We're making progress. So that's all I can ask for. But I got a lot of parts on the way. A lot of stuff's happening, and it's been a crazy weekend. Literally just filmed like the last video you guys have seen, number 21 or whatever it was, 20 I think. That was all filmed this weekend. So it's been a ridiculous weekend of doing nothing but working on the car pretty much. So putting a lot of hours in, but hey, got to get it running. So yeah, that's it. That's going to make it for today's video. I'll see you guys again soon because I have a lot more parts on the way. So until next time.